Welcome to the ArcherShaw Temple podcast, teachings for sovereign awakening, sacred union, and embodied devotion. I'm Christopher Shaw, here with Aeon Archer. May this transmission meet you exactly where you are and open the next doorway on your path. Let us begin.
When I think of my own rebirth and think of, I was thinking about this last night. I was sitting in meditation and I was thinking what it felt like first to be in the darkness, to be in the suffering, to be in the primordial womb of my becoming, and not really knowing what's next, what to expect. And the process of being reborn into your life and engaging with my life and really fully becoming embodied in my body. And it's like, because like the moment that we're born is like, that's the moment when we get our body. That's the moment that our body is given to us. We come from spiritual form down into our body. But there's also a rebirth that happens like in the middle of your life, where the old version of you no longer fits. And something inside of you is asking to be expressed, is asking for an expansion. It's where the old way of being for me no longer worked. And I could feel that. I could see that in my relationships. I could feel that in my body. I could see that in my external environment and the situations I was putting myself in. And there came a point to where that pressure grew so much. Like the pressure in my old life grew to the point to where I could no longer sit in that familiar suffering any longer. And that's the kind of the suffering that I want to talk about, that suffering that isn't really that loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shake the room. It simply settles in quietly, gradually, until one day you realize that you've been living inside a life that simply no longer fits. And like I said, I know this suffering because I've lived in it for a really long time, for years and years and years. And it wasn't because I lacked gifts. It wasn't because I was afraid of what it would mean. It was because I was afraid, honestly, of what it would mean to use them fully, to show up fully in my life. There were many times in my life that I would shrink myself to fit other people's agendas. I would stay small because I didn't want to offend anybody. I stayed comfortable in this familiar discomfort for the largest part of my life. I chose to escape over remaining present and engaged in my life. I told myself that the container wasn't large enough for who I was really meant to be. And the strange thing about that kind of suffering is it is comfortable. It becomes really comfortable to stay that way. And so it's like, it's weird because it's incredibly uncomfortable, but it's still slightly, oddly, strangely comfortable. And so, I had a struggle with this discomfort because it's like, I was going to be uncomfortable either way. Growing and evolving and pressing up against my edges, pressing up against my boundaries was uncomfortable. But I was also incredibly uncomfortable in the suffering. So it was like, which discomfort was I going to choose? And there was something that was stirring underneath all of that. Something older than my fear, something more powerful than my discomfort, something that refused to be quiet. It was my soul. My soul was calling me forward. My higher self was urging me to press up against the shell I had created for myself, to press up and to set myself free. And today I want to talk about what happens when that call becomes louder than everything else that's keeping you in place, keeping you in that space of familiarity. I want to talk about the terrifying, excuse me, gorgeous, overwhelming, world-cracking experience of being reborn. Now, I want to talk about the butterfly because the butterfly is a perfect example of rebirth. Science tells us something remarkable about the butterfly. When a caterpillar enters its cocoon, it doesn't simply transform, it completely dissolves. It completely dissolves itself into like this goo-like substance. And inside that dark, tight space, the caterpillar's body breaks down into what biologists call imaginal cells. And what I really like about the fact that they call them imaginal cells, because we get to imagine who we want to be. It is our creativity. It is our imagination. It's the limits of our imagination that tell us what we are capable of. In these undifferentiated cells, cells that have no fixed identity, cells that simply carry the blueprint of something that has never existed before. And the cocoon is not a chrysalis of comfort. I imagine that being a caterpillar and dissolving your body into goo is probably a pretty painful experience. And yet the cocoon knows what it is doing. So as a caterpillar, having come, this is from the Bhagavad Gita, as a caterpillar, having come to the end of one blade of grass, draws itself forward, out for the next. So the self draws itself together and reaches out for the next. The ancient sages of India understood this thousands and thousands of years ago, that the self, what they called the Atman, does not cling to its current form. It draws itself together and it reaches for expansion. That is the nature of the self. That is the nature of who you are as a spiritual being, is to reach out towards your edges and push past them. Now, some of us, and myself included, I'm in the middle of my cocooning season. I'm in the middle of learning how to become a butterfly. And you came here today feeling maybe tight in some areas of your life, feeling constrained, feeling like you don't quite know who you are anymore, or you're just now discovering it. Because the version of yourself you used to be doesn't quite fit. Welcome, Carrie. I'm glad you're here today. The cocoon is not your home. It is your preparation. But here's what I want you to understand. What is being reborn is not your soul. Your soul was never the small version of you. Your soul was never the one who stayed small to keep the peace. That was a costume, a mask, a strategy born from fear. And another verse from the Gita says that never the spirit was born, the spirit shall never cease to be never. Never was there a time it was not. The end and beginning are simply but dreams. Your spirit has no end. It has no edges. It cannot be diminished, cannot be destroyed, and cannot be contained. So when we talk about rebirth, we are not talking about the creation of something new. We are talking about the unveiling of something eternal. Tat tvam asi means thou art that. Thou art that vastness, that infiniteness. This is something that you already are by nature. So that vastness, that expansion that you're longing for is already you. The suffering was never who you were. The fear was never the truth of you. The smallness was never your nature. You were always and will always be infinite. The rebirth is just you finally agreeing with what was true all along. Now, there came a moment for me, like I said earlier, my soul's calling became louder than the fear of change. Not because the fear disappeared, but because something larger showed up. Now, there's the poet Rumi says, die, die, die in this love. You die in this love, your soul will be renewed. Rumi understood that rebirth requires a sort of death, not a physical death, but a death of the false self, the death of that version of you that feels it has to remain small. The death of the small story you have been telling about who you are and what you deserve. He also said, you were born with wings. So why do you prefer to crawl through life? That question wrecked me because I had been crawling for years. Crawling felt safe. Crawling felt familiar, and crawling felt manageable. But I was made to fly. You were made to fly. And somewhere underneath all the conditioning and fear, I knew it. And if you ask yourselves, you know it too. The surrender I'm talking about is not passive either. It is the most courageous thing a human being can do, which sounds counterintuitive from the narrative that we hear, in our daily lives and from the world around us. But to stop fighting the becoming of who you are and who you're meant to be, to stop white knuckling the old life, to open your hands and say, I trust what is being built in me. Christopher held me in that surrender. My community, all of you, hold me every week in that surrender. Teachers from the lineage of the Siddha Yoga tradition and the books that I have read have held me in that surrender. And new people came into my life as if they had been sent. And most importantly, nature, the Gaia, the Earth Mother, has held me in that surrender. And when everything was quiet, my own inner knowing, my own truth has held me in that surrender. We are not meant to be born alone, to be reborn alone, or born alone, either one. We are reborn in relationship to the sacred, to each other, and to the living world all around us. And here's an interesting thing. The butterfly cannot crawl back into the cocoon. Once the wings have come, they have come. But the butterfly still has to choose to use them. We are the ones we have been waiting for. There is a teaching that runs through many indigenous traditions that the world is waiting for you to show up as yourself, that your fullest expression is not indulgent. It is absolutely necessary. The fullest version of you is the medicine the world is asking for. So when I began to emerge, everything felt new. And it's beautiful, but also loud and overwhelming, yet exciting at the same time. Like a newborn encountering the world for the first time. I imagine, although I can't remember, but I can almost remember that when I was first born, everything was loud. People were huge, and the noises in the room were loud, and the lights were bright, coming from this place of darkness inside my mother. So the world felt overwhelming and enormous. But it also was full of untapped potential and possibility, something that I could not see from inside the familiar suffering. Walking in your rebirth means three things: renewing your perception, choosing daily to see yourself through the eyes of your emergence, not your old story, releasing the old territory, not returning to relationships or habits or identities that require you to stay small, and receiving who you are, allowing yourself to be loved, seen, and celebrated as the fullness of who you are becoming. And here is the miracle. You cannot unbe born. There's no way to do it. Once you're born, you're born. You can't unbe born. So what has been awakened in you cannot be taken back. Even on the days when the cocoon seems appealing, the divine in you has already seen the sky. Now, I want to speak directly to someone here today, or someone watching on YouTube later, or our podcast listeners. You know who you are. You are the one who's been sitting in that familiar suffering. The one who knows deep down that the life you are in no longer fits. But the fear of leaving is louder than the call of what is waiting. So I want you to hear this. The freedom from the familiar is the true calling. Your soul is asking for expansion. Your soul is designed to express its infinite nature, to express its uniqueness. And it is asking for the fullest expression of itself in this one precious finite life. You are colorful. You are powerful. You are worthy of love and respect, not when you get it together, not when you have proven yourself, but right now in this moment, exactly as you are, mid-cocoon and all. There is a unique aspect of the divine that has only ever been expressed through you, not through anyone else, through you. And the world is waiting. So let the old version dissolve. Let the imaginal cells do their sacred work and trust the container of this community, this practice, and this love. You are not crawling back, baby. You have wings. Now let's use them. Let us close in prayer. Sacred Presence, by whatever name you are known, we open ourselves to the power of rebirth. We release the old costumes. We release the familiar suffering. We trust the disillusion, and we receive our wings. May every soul in this room know, in this moment, that they were made for the fullness of this life. Tat Svam Asi, thou art that. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Guru Om, Amen, Aho, Ashe, and so it is. Christopher will now lead us in a guided meditation to embody this teaching. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Okay, everyone, let's take a deep breath together. And gently closing your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Just begin by noticing your body, your breath, the simple fact that you are here. Nothing to change, nothing to fix, just arrive. Now bringing your awareness to the places in your life that no longer fit. Not the story, just the felt sense. And where do you feel that in your body? Tightness, pressure, restlessness, heaviness. Just notice. And instead of trying to move away from it, let yourself be with it. This is the cocoon, not a mistake, and not something to escape. A space of transformation. Now gently soften your grip. You don't have to hold everything together. You don't have to maintain the identity you've been carrying. Let it loosen, even just a little. And feel what begins to dissolve when you stop holding it all in place. No forcing, no pushing, just allowing. And underneath that, see if you can sense something quieter, something steady, something that has not been shaken by any of it. Not the story of who you've been, but the truth of what you are. Rest there for a moment. The truth of what you are. And from that place, begin to sense what is emerging. Not fully formed, not defined, but present and alive. A direction, a feeling, knowingness, And you don't have to figure it out, just acknowledge it. This is the beginning of your rebirth. And now gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Back to your body. And back to the space we're in together. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and come back to this place. And if you feel it, drop a word in the chat for what's emerging for you right now. Anybody. Clarity. I love it, Roy. Clarity. Good. All right. Aeon will now lead us in today's offering moment.
Merkaba Temple is sustained by the people who are spiritually fed here. There's no organization carrying this behind the scenes. This temple exists because this community chooses to support it. If you receive from this space, if these services matter to you, if this temple supports your inner life, then participation is part of integrity. We give where we are spiritually fed, not equal amounts, but shared responsibility. So if you are able to participate, you can take your phone, open Venmo, and type in @Merkaba Temple. You can also give at www.merkabatemple.com/donate. You can give once or even set up something ongoing. Any amount matters. What sustains this temple is not generosity from a few, but participation from many. Thank you for showing up, not only in presence, but in support. Christopher will share what's rising for us here in the temple.
All right, here is what is rising in the temple. First, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge someone here in our community who is, I believe, online with us today. And that is Ben. Ben completed a powerful transformational journey with us through Merkaba retreats last Sunday. And I would like to share something he wrote as he was leaving. Ben said, "I'm leaving this retreat feeling different than when I arrived. I don't feel like I suddenly have all the answers, but I do feel more connected to myself and more open to the life I'm living. For the first time in a long time, I feel genuinely grateful to be here and to be living my life. I'm still Ben, but I'm happy to be me, and I'm happy to be living life." This is the work, everyone. Not becoming someone else, but finally being able to be at peace with who you are.
And if you're feeling called into that kind of experience, we have openings this summer for private one-on-one immersions and couples retreats. We also have 2 group immersions scheduled, one in June for the summer solstice and one in August for the Lion's Gate portal. You can learn more at merkabaretreats.com/upcoming-retreats.
And my Conscious Sexuality on-demand workshop is available on Lumara, which is our free social media network for the temple. This is for those of you who would like to reclaim your life force, your presence, and your relationship to your own sexual energy. It's not a sex class. We're not going to be dissecting your sex life on a whiteboard. This is something that you do in your home, privately, or while driving, although you probably can't do the guided meditations while driving, but you could listen while driving, and it's on demand. There are 5 modules, probably some of my best work on conscious sexuality. I'm super, super proud of it. Excuse me. I'd love for you guys to check out the intro to the workshop. I've put that up on our website at archershaw.guru/conscious sexuality workshop. The link is also in the chat. And for our Merkaba Temple community, you can use the promo code SEX147promo for $50 off. The promo code can also be found in the chat. And for those of you that are joining us on YouTube Live, we'll also put these links and the promo code in the comments later today.
And as we shared at the beginning, we would like to give you something today. We created a guide called Return to the Flame, a sacred guide to awakening, devotion, and conscious relationship. This is not just information, it's something you can actually work with. There are practices, reflections, and real entry points into this path. You can access it now via the link in the chat, or for those of you on YouTube Live, the link can be found in the comments later. Take it, use it, let it support you in what's already unfolding in your life.
And it's really beautiful. Aeon designed it, and it's just stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful guide. So if you click the link, it will take you to the page on our website where you can download it. All right, everyone, let us close our service today in prayer. Divine light in us, through us, and as us. We close the space in gratitude for what has been revealed, what has been released, and what is now beginning to emerge. We honor the process of becoming, the parts of us that are dissolving, and the truth that remains. Give us the clarity to see what no longer fits, and the courage to release it, and the strength to walk forward as who we are becoming. May we not return to what we have outgrown. May we trust what is unfolding, and may we live in alignment with what we know is true. Let what was open today stay open, and let what's seen not be forgotten, and let what is real guide our next steps. We walk forward grounded, clear, and awake. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Good Om. Amen. Aho. Ashe. And so it is.
Thank you for being here with us at ArcherShaw Temple. If something in this teaching helped your body soften or brought you back into yourself, let it keep moving. Share it with someone who's ready. This temple is sustained through conscious participation, through those who feel the resonance and choose to support the work from clarity, not pressure. If you feel called into right exchange, you're welcome to support the mission on Venmo at Merkaba Temple, all one word. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can schedule a complimentary soul alignment session at archershaw.guru. Until next time, take care of your nervous system, walk gently, and stay close to what's true.